type of visa, I think I want to really amaze me about these type of visas. A lot of them ask me about how, to become to be eligible for Australian business visa. This outlines 188 type of visas. I mentioned that we have 5 streams of visas. So these visas is 4 years and 3 months. Okay, 4 years and 3 months. When I'm saying 4 years, because for some of the visas, such as significant investor, the investment itself has to be at least 4 years, period. They have to remain that investment for 4 years. So which means they have how many months? They have 3 months to lodge their PR, which is really critical. This is really critical and a strange one. So this type of visas, all 4 years and 3 months, majority of them can be applied for permanent visa as long as they meet requirement. So I'm not going to talk about permanent stream for now. I'm just going to say, because that's a renewal, which means they have already got 188 visa. Now we just need to talk about, if like client comes, she approach you, say, I run a business, I want to be Australian citizen or Australian permanent resident. We just tell them that we do have visas. About this type of visa, it's really popular. And let me give you an example of 188 visa, entrepreneur visas. Okay, this type of visa is actually extremely hard, because the company, the business can be a very small. They have to secure fund from super fund. It's 200,000 Australian dollar, which means you have to have an endorsement from one of the super fund company. They have to endorse your project, and that's really hard, because if you're not in Australia as a, you're not able to get it. This is really hard. Even just 200,000, no one wants to give you money for free, right? This type of visa is actually really popular for PhD students. They are sponsored by their university or their supervisor, and then during the process, they can get it. This one, we just have statistically only have 5 of them got approved for this type of visa, and they're all PhD students here in Australia. So this probably not the area you're gonna look at. So I'm going to the first one, which is 188 innovation. Okay, 188 innovation require that business does not has to be a very big business. They have to have turnover of 500,000 Australian dollar for 2 years in the last 4 years. If the company is a so the business owner must own more than 30% of the share. Okay, 500,000. This is a requirement. We're going to go to talk in depth about 188 innovation visa, because the requirement for this type of visa is nominated by each state, any state. The state government nominate visa applicant, and the state government for the minimum requirement, they will be different. They different from one state to another state. The most hard one is New South Wales. They require the visa applicant to transfer $1 million Australian dollar into Australia to establish the business. Although the 1 million, that's not just for the business purpose. They can use some of them to purchase their own house. But the 1 million has to be transferable, which is the client has to free access to this funding. For other states such as Queensland, South Australia, Melbourne, they require that the applicants must transfer 800,000 Australian dollar after visa approval. So they must demonstrate that they have 800,000 in the pocket. Of course, the minimum requirement for them is that they only need to spend 200,000 Australian dollar to establish a business in that particular state, which means they can use 600,000 to purchase their own house for settlement. On top of that, they require you to have at least 100,000 funding available because you want to move to Australia. You need to purchase something like clothing, schooling, something like that. But yes, they want you additional requirement. This is just for home expense, house expense. So the minimum requirement, again, it is 800,000 or in all states except for New South Wales, they want 1 million. And they have to spend 200,000 in business, or minimum in business. If they want to spend more, that's fine too. So this is a visa condition, but they must provide this before they actually start to invest. Okay, 188 visa. 188 visa is they have to purchase a business that they will be the main person to manage the business. So they must have a major shareholder. The client must be major shareholder. It must be at least 51%. It depends on the size of business again. 51% demonstrate that client will be in everyday business management. So 188, the client can purchase an existing business, which means they can purchase a sushi shop, they can purchase a 7-Eleven, they can purchase, but something we need to be aware and mindful about this. The type of business they want to do in the future, or when they propose they want to do in that particular state, it's limited by each state. Some of the states, for example, they do not like retails. Okay, so if you just purchase a sushi shop, that is not retail. This is a restaurant. Cafe and restaurant is fine for majority of states. Some of the states they don't want to do just this property development, meaning that you just purchase 2 houses and sit there and not doing anything. So this is not doing business. It's type of passive income and passive investment. So the majority of the states, they do not like this. So what kind of business activities they can do depends on what state they want to enter to do that business. And then because of the state nominate them, the client cannot move to any other states. All right, they must live in that state. Otherwise, they will have problem later on when they come to Australia. So 88 type of visa, permanent one, 888. The second type of visa is 188B. This is called investor visa. So the requirement is that they must invest 1.5 million Australia into the state fund. What do we mean by state fund? For example, if Queensland nominate the clients under state nomination 188 investor visa, the client has to lend this amount of money to the state. Okay, 1.5 million Australian dollar. Then most clients ask, oh, how about the interest? Then we have no clue how about interest. The interest is really low. In fact, it's about, when I did a few of the visas, it's about 1.4 to 1.8%. So it's that you have to lend this money to the state for minimum of 4 years. Remember, we have 4 years and 3 months. After 4 years, they automatically release this fund to the client. They have the money back. Okay. States funding, states this is really safe way of, there's no risk because state basically borrow money from you. They were always able to pay you back. The client's requirement is, of course, different to innovation one because it is called investor visa. But in this way, we have two types of investor. One, the client is actually running a business and they have other financial products. Okay, so they purchase shares on the market, they have financial products, they do tradings. Then the amount of money they are in each year must be 12.25 million Australian dollar for at least 3 years in the last 4 years' time. Okay, so they must demonstrate on the same timeline, on the same date. For example, we use in South Africa, we use the financial date, 31st of March. Each year, the clients have the 2.25 amount of money sitting there. It can be cash, of course. It can be gold, silver, diamond, antique. That it's really difficult to evaluate because the market, because that, and property it's included as well, and you have to have a valuation for that. Business assets, yes, if the business owns 2 factories, then yes, that's a property business asset including land. But some other items such as vehicles that cannot be included, airplane, boat, they are not because of the depreciation. So basically 2.25 includes cash, share, including properties, land, gold, diamond, right? That the client can be a business owner or investor only, or they can be both. The 188C, this is really good one because this visa is actually the clients invest Australian dollar 5 million to a investment bank. Okay, investment bank can be various. So if you want to find out about which bank you should, approach, ask me about this. But this is a really good way because investment bank provide really good commission about referring client to them, which is really sound commission. Of course, depends on the terms and conditions. The client's requirement is really not that hard. The client must invest a total Australian dollar 5 million for 4 years, and then, which means they have to release the fund to the bank. Then the bankers invest accordingly. They have to have a compliant investment, which means percentagely they have to invest high risk one, low risk one, and medium risk. The percentage will be provided later. So I'll just give you quite a quick idea of a 188C type visa. And the client, significant investor, they just need to demonstrate that they actually have 5 million to be transferred. And these 5 million will have been legally acquired. Okay? So legally acquired is a really hard one to prove, of course, but we'll talk in that in detail. Premium investors, I have been seeing in my entire life to see anyone want to invest Australian dollar 15 million because that is no point. This is temporary visa and they still need to wait. And why don't they just do 132 visa, right? It doesn't make sense. But you might have no chance to see any clients in that regard. So overall, I'll give you a really quick summary. We have 5 types of Australian business visa, one under 188 stream. 188 visa is a temporary visa. Once a visa is approved, it can be approved for 4 years plus 3 months. Some visas you need to wait 4 years, such as significant investor visa. You have to wait 4 years in order to apply. Investor visa, you also need to wait for 4 years in order to apply. However, for 188 type of innovation, you only need to wait 2 years in order to apply. So let me go through some criteria that you might be interested. Let me talk about this 188 visa. Okay, so a client approach you. Okay, they ask, oh, I have a business. I want to migrate business, do a business in Australia. How can I do? So the first one you always do is eligibility check, which means can we take the client or not? If we can't take the client, no matter how well the client is doing, then it's not our business. We don't care. The first one, we always ask how old they are. They must be less than 55 age. So if they more than 55, of course there's exemptions for this one, but states such as Victoria, they never ever approve anyone beyond 55. They must be less than 55 and they have to score 65 points on the point system. It is a system that differs from the general skill migration point system. Later, I will give you online how they can score 65 points, how be awarded to them accordingly. Then they have to be having personal assets of Australian dollar 800,000. And they have to have a successful business career. Okay, successful business career. We have a specific definition about this. So we're going to talk about this in more details. I'll give you some quick outline of terminologies. The first one, of course, we want to discuss what it's meant by successful business career. Okay, of course, the business cannot be had any bankrupt in the last 5 years, and they have no insolvency in the last 5 years, or no trading loss. So the loss, how can we find? We just check that financial statement. If the company in loss, then it is really not a good idea to apply. But if the one loss, if just for a period of 5 years, then just have 1 year lost, and they can explain in details because of change on the market or something like that. And we do need an accountant letter to explain why they had lost. Okay, this is overall successful business career. We need to check financial statement before we can proceed. So if the client asks you about this, given you can ask them about how old they are, do the point system check, and what kind of business they do. And before we proceed further, business visa is different to other type of visas because that involves something what we call a third party, which their accountant, right? Other visas, we just deal with the client directly. We don't need to do, except for the employer-sponsored visa. Sometimes we do need to deal with, but we deal with the one party at one time. For successful business career, the clients must provide us financials before we can proceed, because there is no point after we check financial, the client did not understand. Lots of them, they do not understand their financial situation because they are not the person who doing the accounting thing. We ask them to provide us a financial statement, best ideas covered for financial years. This it actually helps us to further secure the deal. So when I've been talking about business visas or these type of visas, this is really technical. I haven't been able to express my feeling or my understanding experience in ability to seal the deal. Ability to seal the deal is really important because there is no point to understand as a knowledge and then we not use it or exchange for money. That's no point. We must have the abilities to seal the deal. For business type visa, it's difficult to seal the deal. The way we're doing it, you have to under the psychology effect of the client. If a client approach you and you just talk to them, alone itself does not help you to seal the deal. So sometimes you do, a majority of the time, what I do is I need to speak to the accountant. I need to check, give them permission I need a client to provide the permission to me to speak to accountant. Then you have better understanding because you talk to different people and they see they are genuine, and that way you can persuade them to provide the information and seal the deal. So it's really important. Just the tip for this one for business type visas. The point system, of course, it's different to skill migration. They award different points to different criteria. The point system including age, financial, qualification, whether the client have innovation, how long they have been in business experience, and the business turnover. Okay, let me go through this one. I'm sorry about this one. This include in Chinese as well. So age, you can see if a client between 33 and 39, they awarded 25 points. English, okay. So unlike skill migration, the minimum requirement is IELTS 6 on each band. IELTS 6, can it PDE, can it any other English exam. So I just give you some common one, PTE exam or IELTS on each band, 6 on each band. That's the minimum requirement. Some of occupations that they can get skill assessment positive without English, but when they come to the visa application, they must have English 6. However, for business visa, there is no minimum requirement of English. You can, of course, avoid it for points if you can score 5 on each band. If you don't have any English at all, then it is okay. You don't need English. But if you don't have English, minimum IELTS 5, then the client must pay the English training. It is up to 9,000 for main applicant and 4,900 for the dependent adult applicant. Okay, but that is no mandatory requirement. For qualifications, for diploma, any random one is 5. If STEM qualification, science, technology, that it is awarded for 10 points. Business experience. Okay. Now, if they have more than 5 years, then business experience, more than 4 years, that 10 points. And if they have more than 7 years, they are awarded for 15 points. Financial means how much they have, right? Financial is including net business and personal assets. So we must do calculation for this one. Net asset, I'll give you a calculation to show you how do we calculate. So they award accordingly. 800,000 is the minimum because the minimum they award for 5 points. If they have more money, and then they award for more points. For the financial, so for this financial business turnover, 500,000, this is minimum requirement, 5 points. Okay. Now, other ideas about innovation. If the client has a patent, of course, or design, they are awarded for extra point. I haven't got to that. I think I put on one side. But yes, that's a different point. If they have the trade or trademarks and they've been doing that, using it every single day, they will be awarded for 5 points. So that's a point system. If they want for 188A visa, then they need this point. If they do 188B, they need this. For 188C, which is the significant investor, there's no point system required. Okay, because they have 5 million, right? Okay, then trade, yeah, I put it on the other side. So if that is a joint venture, that's 5 points. Evidence export trade, 15 points, and others, right? So this one you can find out online, really easy to use it. Okay, visa conditions. what do we mean by visa condition? Visa condition means that the client can enter Australia and they have to comply for these conditions in order to keep an active visa. They have one, unlimited travel. They can work, but they don't have a free Medicare. They have to purchase their own health insurance. Dependents have right, including school. They have free school most of the time. They have free schooling. Of course, if they go to uni, then it's not free. It's not free here in Australia. But for high school, secondary school, primary, kindergarten, free educations. Okay, so in order to demonstrate the ownership, we call it business registration, ABN registration. So they have to show us the registration report, deed. They have to show the financial, how the profit is distributed, because the registration extra will demonstrate how much shares they have on each one, and the financial shows a distribution of profits. So net asset. What do you mean by net asset? It's difficult, isn't it? This is talking about business one. If the client has the money, $1 million in the bank, then that's asset, right? This is net asset. So net asset in business, net asset means asset minus liability and multiplied by numbers of shares, right? So these assets include main applicant and the dependents. If the main applicant is a male and the dependent is a wife, or if the main applicant is a wife and dependent is a husband, then all assets must be added together. All shares must be added together. Okay. So in doing this, you have to have a auditing. The client must pay for the auditing to do everything. So, but the auditing, the auditor, they don't go to the factory. Of course, they check the financial statements. And we check this balance sheet, because this balance sheet provides information about liabilities and an asset. If it is asset, what type of asset they have? All right, is it a computer that doesn't work or not? But if that's a truck, they have 10 trucks, right? They have an evaluation for that one. They have land, they have anything. Liability, how much the company owns to third party, including bank, including the liabilities. It's non-current liability if they have a director loan. So this will be really tricky one, as really paying attention to this one. Now, if the company, so the money can be used once. For example, if the director, which is visa applicant, holding 60% of the share, that he loans this money to the company. So the company has to take away these liabilities. They have to say 50,000, then take away. But the personal asset, they have to add this 50,000, right? They have to add. So you calculate one time. You take away from business liabilities and add the client's own, it's called receivable. But for the director loan, you have to have a loan agreement. You can't just say, oh, I just transferred 2 million. No, you have to have a loan agreement that's sealed in before a solicitor to say how much you loan and what date and how you did transfer. Okay. Balance sheet is really important. A financial statement, one of the, so it tells the financial position, how much cash in hands, stock, how much they have, account receivable. They have other information such as debt, long-term debt, long-term liabilities, non-current liabilities. Lots of it tells a company's financial situation. If the company has a lot of liabilities, that's not healthy, isn't it? Unless this is a direct loan to the company. So if we talk to the accountant, we need to ask them about this information. Profit or loss. Okay, This mainly they check out the profit and loss. So this, when I mentioned about successful business background, which means they have to have a career successful business, which means the company has to make money, right? If you're in loss, you're not making any money, you're not successful, right? So a profit and loss statement for each financial year in the last 4 years or 3 years, ask them how much real profit and loss, okay? How much real profit and loss. So when they calculate this, sales is part of this. Sales is turnover, and loss is how much they lost. So we don't want to see negative figures, right? Period. Simple. We don't want to see negative figures. You know, the accountant, we just talked about this figure, right? You are in negative. What's up? How can you fix this one? So it's important. Balance sheet and profit loss. These are two main documents you want a client, the accountant, to provide to you before you just check whether they are eligible, right? Okay, so to the other two streams, I just go to this one. I know this is a lot of to digest. I'm going to, for the next section, I'm going to break down each one, because then after you got the client, you know what to do. Kind one, I just give you a overall image about our business visas. It gives you a basic understanding of whether the client is eligible. Okay. For 132, we have two streams: venture capital entrepreneur and significant business history. Venture capital entrepreneur is really hard to get, and only a few of them got a visa. We're going to be focusing on significant business history. That two aspects they have to mention. Okay, so venture, so business stream for 132 that they must do. They have to be a business, a successful business owner. What do we mean by successful business owner? They have to have a total ownership of 400,000, and their business and then personal asset needs to be needs of 1.5 million. The turnover minimum requirement is 3 million. They're all in Australian dollar. If the turnover is less than, so that different general business owner, they must demonstrate that 3 million. This is really important. So when we ask them to provide a financial statement, we just ask, hey, how much do you have? You have 1.5 million or 50 million in your currency. Do you have 30 million turnover? So if they have, then this type of visas require the client to invest invest this amount of money to Australia. They are all under the state nomination, which means different state nominate them. But the requirement is they must not be a passive investment. They can't purchase house or 2 houses and sitting there not doing anything. But they can be property investment. For property investment nowadays, it is just applicable to West Australia. So other states, they don't like property investment. So you got some ideas about this, right? 132 visa, it's that it's a permanent visa. They must invest 1.5 into the Australian state, and they have start running that business. 132 is unlike other types because it's a permanent one. We have a compliance team sitting in Adelaide and then to see whether the clients are compliant, and they have a special cancellation power, which is really powerful. Visa cancellation, if they enter Australia with a permanent one, they don't do the business. They just put their money in the bank, they don't do anything. So the requirement is actually they start doing the business within 2 years of visa approval. Okay, they must do a business. They must invest, purchase business, and running the business. 1.5, it can be a lot for some clients if they only want to for a period of time and they haven't decided yet. But if they don't want to do this, they can go for 188 type visas. I haven't been talking about 408 visas. This is entrepreneur startup visas. The visa process is actually not hard. The most hard one is they have to have their ideas, bright ideas, to be endorsed by the by South Australia, which is Adelaide. This process, I've been doing this for a while, and it's really hard. You have to work together with the client. So even the visa itself is for 4 years, and a temporary one, and that is itself does not need to permanent residency. You can still charge them for a significant amount of a processing fee because of complexity and much work you involved in helping visa client to get endorsed. Now I leave this 50 minutes for question time. Draw me questions, an email. I will then answer and record them accordingly. Whatever you want to answer, I put them down and answer them accordingly because that will too much to digest today. All right, it's okay for today. If you have interest in my program and want me to talk about more, just send me an email.